going on, guys? Back at it again with another driver aesthetic video. It's your boy Justin. Let's get it. What's going on, guys? Justin back here at Driver Aesthetic. Today we're going to talk about front bumpers. So I'm going to be using this Model X behind me to demonstrate, but these techniques that you're going to learn today can be generally used on any front bumper. So with Tesla front bumpers, you generally don't need to take them off, so I'm going to show you guys how to do it right on the car. As far as prep goes, it's pretty straightforward, just like the rest of the parts of the car. You want to make sure everything is clay barred, cleaned, and alcohol, or you can use the tack cloth. So since we're not taking the front bumper off, what I'm going to do is go ahead and mask up the headlights, parts of the car that I wrapped like on the fenders, along with any other things that I don't want to make sure get damaged. So first I'm going to go ahead and tape up the headlights. It doesn't have to be pretty. Just got to cover what you need to cover. You just want to follow the contour of the light. Make sure you're covering right to the edge. So next I'm going to be taking up the fenders. Sometimes you want to use multiple pieces of tape just so you can get the right curvature. So next, I'm going to tape up the fog lights. So for this Model X, I'm also going to tape up this trim piece. That way it's easier to readjust and get some tuck. Right now, I'm going to be taking this 8mm, taking off the one bolt that holds the corner of the bumper on. That way I can have maximum coverage and pull over my corners. I already took the liberty of taking off this trim piece earlier in the week. All it is a sensor, a bolt, and just pulling it off. Your bumper may be different. It may be a couple different bolts, it may be tabs. So just look into that before you start pulling things apart. So I've already removed the bolt. Now all you gotta do is pull. Bink, bink, bink. What is the inlay, you ask? Well, let me tell you. If you do try to one-piece the front bumper, those deep recess areas are more likely to pull back and bubble up. So an inlay is a piece of vinyl used in certain sections of a deep recess to alleviate stress of doing the whole bumper in one piece. So the reason we're going to use knifeless tape is so we can get straight, nice, precise cuts without having to cut on the car. So when using knifeless tape, you want to go along body lines. That way you have the best possibility of hiding the seams. So pro tip, you want to make sure your inlays are symmetrical. So if you're going to do one on this side, you have to make sure you match it along to the other side. With inlays, you can generally do them by yourself. Sometimes you might need help, but you should be okay. Typically, you can use scrap pieces for your inlays. Sometimes you're going to have a larger inlay. And if you do have a larger inlay, you want to make sure that's included in your measurements when you're cutting. Speaking of measurements, did you guys know we had a whole video out on how to measure your car before you cut out your vinyl? Link in the description. So now we're going to go ahead and start laying the inlay. So what I'm going to do first is tack the side and then go along the rest of the car, stretching it to the right size. So don't worry about initially glassing it out first try. You can always go ahead and readjust. So now that I've laid it, what I'm going to go ahead and do is start glassing out the main body line. Another pro tip for your concave areas, you want to make sure you lay the vinyl into it and not stretch it into it. It is okay to use a little bit of heat. You want to make sure that you're not just completely stretching into the area. your knifeless tape, you want to make sure you grab a heat gun and post heat all the areas and get them smooth to where you have no edges that are wrinkled or any bubbles. So what you want to do is pull the knifeless back till it folds over itself. You're going to pinch the end and tug. And that way the knifeless breaks the seam in the center. And then you want to hold the edge. And then just continue to pull through. Go ahead and pull your piece off. So if it wrinkles up like that, if it wrinkles up like this, just go ahead and run your finger along it and smooth it down, and then you're all good to go. So since the Model X has fog lights, like most bumpers, what I did right now is just cut onto my piece of tape, just a decent amount enough to tuck behind and under the fog lights as well as on top. That way I have maximum coverage. So now that we have the inlays done, we're going to be laying the main part of the bumper. Now's a great time to grab a frame. Initially, you guys are going to just peel the backing paper, tack both sides, and then tack the middle. With the center tacked, you're going to go ahead and have your friend lift the outside edge of the vinyl, and while he's holding tension on it, you're going to go ahead and heat and glass from the center moving outward. So once you get your bumper fully glassed out, then you're going to want to move on to trimming your inlays. Disclaimer, do not forget where your inlay ends because you don't want to end up short. That's a bad day for everybody. In this situation for my inlay, what I did now is I made a slit. That way I can start feeding it into the inlay position. So right now I'm just making relief cuts so I can help the vinyl lay into the bumper of the concave areas. I'm going to be tucking some of the fog light. I already have this part basically inlaid. If you've got tape on there, perfect, because you don't want to cut your fog lights up. Tucking the fog lights. Squeegee, tuck tool, whatever you got. And also the tape is going to help it so the vinyl doesn't stick to the fog light itself. You just go ahead and straight tuck into it. So I made a slight mistake, and I happened to snap the vinyl when I was pulling it up, but that's all right, because Aura is very forgiving material, and we're going to be able to stretch it into the mouthpiece, just with a slight adjustment, so we got this. have any wrinkles by your inlaid areas, just make sure you don't cut too short when you're trying to pull them out. So now I'm going to go ahead and trim the fog light. Just like the other side, we're just gonna go ahead and tuck it in. If you can't tuck it in because there's too much material, you can go ahead and trim it off. Just make sure you give it a little heat first. Just like any other pieces of your car, you're gonna wanna make sure you post heat before you cut. That way you don't cut and then you heat it after and then it shrinks. So you just wanna make sure heat and then cut. Now that I finished trimming the upper part of the grill, I'm gonna go ahead and start cutting the headlight. What's up guys, I ended up staying a little bit late last night, finished up the rest of the bumper, had to cut and tuck the rest of the edges, which you guys saw me do yesterday. Thanks again for joining us on how to wrap a front bumper. I'm Justin here with Driver Aesthetic. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see anything specific, drop it in the comments below. Let's get it.